Good morning and happy new year. We are officially 6 days into 2026. Let me make sure I'm live on Instagram. How are you all doing this morning? See if I have anybody watching. Let's see. Good morning. I think Holly's on. No, for some reason, I don't know why my comments keep showing up from my Facebook from like my Facebook group. It's so weird. I'll think somebody's on. I'm usually assuming it's Holly. If you guys are watching, please feel free to say hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy New Year. I see some people hopping on Instagram. Silly Lemon, Corpse Grinders. Instagram handles are so interesting. Marcel Herring. I always just wonder because I'm just like basic and I'm like, Cheryl Masso. That's me. Happy Tuesday, guys. Happy New Year. I am going to roll right into today. Marshall is speaking a completely different language to me that I do not understand. Not sure where you're from. Probably joining in from some other part of the world. Good morning. All right. So today's topic is the reason I'm putting it out there is because I know a lot of my women out here doing CrossFit are coming off of the holiday season where maybe your training took a little bit of a hit because you weren't able to get into the gym as much. Good morning, J-Mac. Maybe you were, I think that's Jody actually. Maybe you were a little off with your nutrition because of, just being, traveling and the holidays and all that stuff. And come the new year, you're kind of in a place of, well, there's different types of women. There's women that are like, I'm just going to kind of get back to what I was doing because it was working fine. And then there's others like, you know what, like it's time for me to like get my shit together and pull it together. And there are a lot of things that tend to happen in the new year that can set you up for success or for failure. And my goal today is that I give you guys some tips, whether you're listening in the new year or you are getting started on a fat loss journey and you're listening to this episode in recording, 3 or 4 months from now, it's still relevant. It's okay. You're in a place of, I'm ready to shed this extra body fat and I want to do it the right way. And you are a CrossFitter, you're over 35 and things just aren't working the same way as they used to. And I say all this and it's so hard for me still to talk about this because I feel like I'm speaking very specifically to that demographic, but it's because that's the demographic that I resonate with the most because we have been through the trenches of diets and trends and your body has adapted to everything you've done, not just as a child now, but as an adult, which brings a lot more stress. Life was so simple when you were just going to school and mom was paying the bills and all that stuff, right? Like so many things have changed in your life. And good morning, Lisa. And I want you guys to know why things feel harder after 35 and really give you guys some strategies today to hopefully help you set up a better plan for fat loss. And I'm going to start by, this isn't even in my notes, but I'm going to start with this is motivation right now for change is very high. So this is the first problem that I didn't even write down there is motivation is super high right now because you're coming off of a season where you were out of your routine. You were probably way more relaxed with your nutrition, way more relaxed with your training, and everything feels like kind of good again. It's new again. It's fresh. You're refreshed, right? That motivation is going to dwindle over the next couple of weeks. So, and that's why a lot of people have a lot of thoughts and opinions about New Year's resolutions. And I don't have an opinion this or that about them. I have opinions about people that don't do them the right way. Like I want you guys to see your goals and resolutions through, whether you're starting it on January 1st or September 22nd. Like I don't care what time. If you decide now's the time to make change, I want to tell you guys what matters. So the first thing first, your motivation right now is going to be high. You cannot rely on motivation because guess what? It's going to dwindle. You're going to need to stay consistent. And that's why this episode is going to help give you guys the tools you need and the thoughts you need to help you build a plan that actually is going to work for you. All right. So I think that let's go with number one. By 35, and again, this isn't even part of my notes. This is stuff that I'm adding on because whenever I make a podcast episode, I know the bullet points, but there's always going to be more stuff that I have to add on. All right. you are continuing to do the same thing over and over again. You keep defaulting back to what you were doing before. And it's why you've spent the last 10 to 15 years of your life going back and forth between the same 10 to 15 pounds, maybe never losing weight, maybe losing weight only to regain it, maybe never really feeling at peace with yourself and with food. And it's this constant battle between I'm choosing my health or I'm choosing, I don't care about my health because my brain is so tired. All right. So we have to recognize that you got to have a little bit of an understanding of the adaptations that you have created over time, both physically and mentally, but knowing that like it's time to like get a new assessment and a baseline for here's where I'm at today and what I know I've done in the past and where I've fallen short in the past, because those things are going to allow this year, wherever you're at, whether you're 35, 45, 65, to make more changes that are going to bring you further. Maybe you can be fitter in your 40s and your 50s than you were in your 20s and your 30s. That is a possibility. Maybe you've been really grinding through a lot of, whatever, mentally, maybe you're physically fatigued, maybe you're not making progress. Maybe this is the year that suddenly you figure out why you're injured all the time, why you can't stay consistent in the gym, why these things are hard for you. I'm here to help you with this today. So really what I should have titled this episode is let's not make these mistakes as you are setting yourself up for a fat loss phase. So if you have a goal of like, I would like to lose 10, 15, 20, 50 plus pounds or whatnot. In fact, I like you guys to even think and consider about what the actual goal is, but not get too focused on the goal. So I do think that right now, as I was saying, that if you're like, wow, I haven't actually even thought about how much weight I want to lose, actually taking some time to think about that. And if you have a significant amount of weight to lose, letting yourself have benchmarks like, all right, let me get to this number first, reassess this number first, giving yourself tangible goals that are a little bit smaller. So let's get into it. All right. Because I've already been rambling for a few minutes and I want to actually get into the main things that I want you guys to get out of today's episode. And if any of these hit home for you, as always, please feel free to reach out to me. I am always here to offer suggestions. And just so you guys know, I am going to be, good morning, whoever is AC Rodeo. Nice to see you on there. I am going to be hosting a workshop, and this is going to be for any of you guys that are looking to learn, and I'll talk more about this at the end, but how to actually eat to look and feel your best if you are over 35, how to make strategy or how to make a fat loss strategy that works with you, understand the importance of knowing how much you should be eating and different strategies. And we'll talk all about that at the end. But let me go into today. So that hopefully if you guys are into day 2 of your New Year's, New You goals, that you can make sure that you are setting up for success or you're set up for success. So number 1, here we go. All right. So the first mistake that I see most of my women over 35 make, I'm going to be honest, like I said, you guys have been on this journey for a long time. At 35 years old, you've probably been on quite a few diets. And you thrive in that place of like, I'm going all in. You're very disciplined. It's why most of y'all are very successful, not just in the gym, but in other areas of your life. You're very, very, very disciplined. But one of the things I find is that women wear out that discipline, that willpower entirely too quickly. And mistake number 1 is removing entirely too many calories at once, even if you're not removing calories. And here's why. Okay. So number 1, easiest way is actually removing calories. Women go online or they go to MyFitnessPal and they type in calorie deficit macros or calories, and they adhere to whatever that plan tells them for a calorie deficit without paying attention to what have you actually been consuming right now on a daily basis? Like what has your nutrition looked like for the last month? Because that's going to give you the data you need to match or to make a more sustainable adjustment off of your calorie intake. So those online, well, I'm going to save that one. So number 1 is going right into a calorie deficit based off of whatever so-and-so told you, whether it's a coach or an online calculator or whatnot. Another way you remove calories too much is you decide I'm going to cut out sugar, alcohol, or carbs. Okay. If you're drinking excessively, you're drinking a lot of extra calories, right? If you're having a lot of extra sugar, you're eating a lot of calories from sugar. If you're eating a lot of carbs, you're eating a lot of calories from carbs. And when you completely remove those and you don't replenish the calories, you are, yes, creating a big deficit, but it might be too much for your body. And you'll see a fast drop in weight. You've probably experienced this. You are going to lose fat weight really quickly for the first couple of weeks, but then you rebound or you plateau and then it doesn't happen. Another way is fasting. This is another one I see. And in fact, I could go off of a rabbit hole about correlation versus causation. But people start doing fasting and they're like, oh, I'm going to try this fasting method. And that can sometimes make it very hard for you to get enough calories, especially from protein. And again, you'll see a fast drop off, but then there's usually a rebound. So, and then the other one is just like doing the whole diet overhaul. You know, you're just removing too many calories because you went from eating out, you went from eating takeout and eating whatever you wanted to like, okay, now I'm going to eat like, you know, egg whites and oatmeal for breakfast and chicken breast and lettuce for lunch and, you know, green beans and, you know, fish for dinner. And now you're eating very low calories. You've just removed entirely too many calories at once. And this backfires. It always backfires. It never lasts. You end up with energy tanks, and especially if you are a CrossFitter, you're going to see that your performance in the gym goes down. It's why you're tainted. It's why you don't want to go into a fat loss phase, because you know how hard it feels because you're doing it the wrong way. Your recovery suffers. You're at more risk for injuries. In fact, a lot of my women over 35, they've been chronically slightly underfed for so long because they've been eating the wrong amount of food for so long that just being in that slight deficit over time has created more inflammation and more risk of injuries and is burning them out. Okay, so those are two things. And then the other one is like the hunger skyrockets, and it's why you have to have a cheat meal every single week, or you have burnout. So all of this stuff tends to happen. And it's so important to understand that I know that you're very motivated, but these extreme changes don't really make fat loss happen any faster. Your body's not going to lose more than about 1 pound of fat per week. Everything else you're losing is things like glycogen, muscle, and your mental bandwidth. Like, so you're better off doing it in a way that feels moderate and is sustainable. And this is one of the things that I'm going to show you guys in my workshop. I am going to be breaking down how to dial in your calories strategically to create a deficit without training or without wrecking training or your hormones. Like, that's the main thing, is I want you guys to feel good in the process. So that's mistake number one, cutting too much too quickly. Mistake number two is tracking data the wrong way or not tracking it at all. Okay, like you're just like, I'm all in and you're not paying attention to anything, or you're completely obsessed with the scale. All right, so one of the things I see is just obsession over day-to-day fluctuations, because again, in the beginning, if you're coming off of the Christmas food, that first week, you're probably going to see the weight's like tick, 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 tick down all the way, right? Because you're coming off of likely being glycogen replenished from all of the calories you've been consuming, and maybe you haven't been training as much, all right? So obsessing over those day-to-day fluctuations can get in your head and make you think that the plan is or isn't working. On the opposite is only weighing in like once a week. And that's also misleading, because especially if you're a female over 35, your hormones are all over the place. And there's going to be a lot of fluctuations based on that. And you want to be able to get weekly averages, monthly trends, taking a look back at seeing data. So if you're committing to a fat loss journey, you have to be looking at not just this week and next week. You're looking at, okay, I'm just week one and month one is really just laying the foundation. And in 6 months from now, you want to be able to have all of that data to look back at. In fact, it's really cool because I started really seriously tracking my food in 2015, and it's now 2026, and I have years of data. Unfortunately, MyFitnessPal made an update, and after 2021, I think, they switched owners, and everything before that got washed out, and I was so pissed about it because I was like, yo, that sucks. All of my food history gone. But not a big deal, because at the end of the day, your body changes so much from them. But it would be cool to be able to look back at how far my diet has come. But yeah, like, you don't want to just weigh in once a week. You want to actually have data points. And then no system for tracking your intake. So like, if you're somebody that's just going into like the whole clean eating thing, how are you tracking how much you're consuming, right? So whether you're actually using some kind of a structure, which we'll talk about, or you are, tracking with an app, You got to have a system for tracking how much you're consuming. So you really need to understand weight as a data point and how to watch weekly trends rather than getting so stressed about the daily and the weekly fluctuations. And then finding a system to allow you to track your intake, whether it is tracking calories and macros in an app, or you're using a plate method, which we can talk about as we get going. And that's one of the things I am going to be teaching in my workshop as well. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to read data, how to track things without it becoming obsessive. All right, mistake number 3. Here we go. Again, my ladies, y'all are so hard on yourselves. We are not a stranger to hard work. Anybody that can wake up at 5 a.m. to go hit a CrossFit workout when you see thrusters and burpees on the schedule, like, you know, you are not a stranger to hard work, right? But you tend to completely ignore your body, and you are so used to being able to run on 50%, and you try and white knuckle your way through the first month of your fat loss phase, which is really just the starting line. All right. The first 2 to 3 weeks is just your body is adapting to the calorie changes. Real fat loss starts to happen between like that 4 and 8 week mark. But some red flags you might be ignoring. You're not listening to your body, right? So looking at things like your energy, your sleep, recovery, injuries, inflammation. If you're starting off at a place where all of those things are like, that's where I'm at, your first goal should not be, let me just get into a severe calorie deficit. It's, man, let me make sure my body is like feeling really good first. If your body is screaming for nourishment right now, putting it in a calorie deficit is only going to amplify all of that. It's not going to restore anything. So we need to focus on adding more than subtracting. And it's where most women go backwards. Again, one more thing that I'm going to be addressing in my workshop, because if that's you, sometimes just by optimizing to improve recovery, hormones, digestion, and how your body reacts to stress, fat loss becomes a natural byproduct without having to try harder. All right. So that's, a lot of you guys think you just have to keep trying harder, that you have to be more disciplined. I want you to get this theme. You are likely very disciplined. Nobody that does CrossFit is like not disciplined. You are very conditioned to hard work. All right. Mistake number 4. You overcommit yourself on day 1. All right. Another reason why I'm speaking to my ladies over 35 is at around the age of 35 was when my life, because I'm 40 now, that was when my life significantly changed. And it wasn't my body, it was my life that changed. It was, I was no longer living the athlete life of like, I'm going to coach a couple CrossFit classes and I'm going to be able to train and eat just for me. Like, it was, no, I have a business, I have other obligations, I have other priorities. And what I find is that you might be doing like me and trying to mold yourself back into who you were when you didn't have all that stuff, when you didn't have 2 or 3 kids, when you didn't have a career, when you didn't have a husband or a wife, when you were in a place where you had more time and energy. Okay. So this usually looks like this. You are like, I'm ready to get back into meal prep, and you spend Sunday massively meal prepping, and you do this like full pantry overhaul. You throw out all of the bad food and you restock your kitchen with expensive groceries and all of this stuff. And you focus on this, like, you have this perfect plan of how this is going to look for you. But guess what? Like, that perfect plan is not real life. Ladies, you are living in a time where we are no longer 1950s moms. All right. We are no longer living in Leave It to Beaver world. We are living in the world of hustle culture. And I know you like to hustle. So I want you guys to hustle, but still be able to take care of yourself. And that means you need less mental energy put on all of the food stuff. The food stuff has to be simple. So this whole commitment to time and mental load leads you to burning out. And it becomes the enemy of your consistency, because when you cannot commit to it, you feel like you failed and you have to start all over again. Okay. Simplicity beats perfect over and over again. All right. So you have a full-time life. This should not consume your life. It should just be something that you do throughout the day, right? Like, yeah, you might be thinking a little bit more about your goals because you're excited for them, but you're eating your meal and you're moving on to doing other things. That's how life is, right? So I will be showing you a little bit more about how to make some strategy or make a plan that allows it to work into your lifestyle, not completely removes it from your lifestyle. Because I think that this is the other problem is I didn't really say that the way that I wanted to, but basically what I'm saying is I want to show you how to make your plan work for your lifestyle. So many people are like, well, just do this. Well, just do that. And that doesn't always work for every single person. In fact, myself as a coach, I am still learning this. Empathy is something that I have for all of my clients, but it's also understanding like there is a mental component to things that people don't understand. And it makes things difficult. What seems easy to somebody isn't easy to somebody else because of maybe the mental energy that's being spent elsewhere. And there's a lot of anxiety and the stress in the central nervous system that can make things difficult. So we need to make a plan that fits your schedule, not somebody else's. All right. So stop looking at this overcommitment or overhaul as the solution because you don't need it. All right. And then the biggest mistake here is number 5. And this is the most important one. Ladies, online calculators are a great baseline. Generic programs like meal plan templates and all that are great for taking a look at structure, what structured meals should look like. However, they are not personalized for you. Okay. So these normally fail, especially my CrossFit women, because they don't understand. So for one, high intensity training is very different. In fact, if you've ever went on an online calculator and it asks you to assess your activity, you're going to notice it says like sedentary, like little to no exercise. And then it's going to be like, oh, 20 to 30 minutes of exercise. And then it's going to be like 30 to 45 minutes of elevated heart rate activity. And then it's like 45 minutes. But in CrossFit, like what is elevated heart rate? Is that zone 2? Or is it CrossFit where it's like zone 10, right? So you have to realize that your training stress is very different. The other thing it doesn't account for or they don't account for is things like your hormonal health. All right. So your insulin sensitivity, your diet history. So your body has adapted to your weight fluctuations over time, which metabolic adaptation, your digestive health, how well your body is absorbing nutrients and digesting calories, the type of food you're consuming. So whether you're eating a more whole food based diet or a more processed diet, your body will burn more. How many calories you're eating right now. Stress and recovery overload. More anxious people actually tend to require more energy, more calories. And then also looking at, like I said, the training volume, not just based on heart rate. And the reality is, if calculators truly worked, women would not hate macros. It's the truth. Like, because it doesn't feel natural. It feels like it isn't what you should be doing. You feel like it's disconnected from you. Now, there are some instances where people are just not willing to make the change they need to make to optimize their diet. But for the most of the time, it's not intuitive with what your body's asking you for. And I'm not talking about what you're craving. I'm talking about what your body's asking you for. So this is the big thing. My workshop, I am going to be breaking down exactly how to understand, how to assess and calculate how much your body needs without guessing, without under eating. With this, it makes fat loss so easy because it's literally just a few swaps in your diet. When you optimize first, you can just make a few swaps. For instance, like right now, if I wanted to go into a calorie deficit, which I don't, I know my diet on a daily basis. I know how much I'm eating. So I know where I could pull from. I know when my body is most hungry. I know what I need for my training. And I know where I could pull calories from very easily to put myself into a deficit. I didn't always know that, but I know that now. That awareness is what I want. Do I need to obsess about it? No. And that's what I want for you guys. I also know when it's like, you know what? Maybe I need to be eating a little bit more right now. Maybe my body needs more nourishment. And maybe I need to test the waters a little bit with eating some more. So if this is you, if any of this stuff today resonates with you, or you are looking to understand how much your body needs, I am targeting this towards women over 35 in the CrossFit space. But even if you're not, you can come on. I do have male clients, by the way. I have probably 10 to 15% of my clientele are men. But the majority of my clients are women like me in their 30s, 40s, and beyond. And just, like at the end of the day, we all are being fed information on we shouldn't do CrossFit because it's too much for our hormones. And, you're not doing enough, strength work because you feel like you're doing too many Metcons. I want to demystify all of that. And if you truly want to get the most out of CrossFit, feel your best, whether you're doing a more competitive based program or you're just taking the classes. And maybe you're starting CrossFit over 35. Maybe you're listening to this, you're like, man, I haven't experienced this stuff with CrossFit yet, but I also want to make sure that I don't. This is for you too. I'm hosting a a workshop, and I'm going to be breaking down exactly how much you should be eating, how to calculate that, how to track progress, and how to create a sustainable plan for you. I want you guys to know how to adjust the plan, how to adapt the plan, what you should be looking to add more of, where you should be looking to pull back on, and really understand everything that you need to be able to get to the goals that you have for yourself. And for a lot of you guys, I know it's really like not so much of you don't care about the scale. You care about how you look and how you feel in the gym. And the scale becomes kind of one more thing that you have to track. It matters for fat loss, but not as much as all of this stuff being implemented. The scale is kind of something that we watch and monitor to find your sweet spot. I always remind women that the scale is related to a time when you're like, this is where I feel and look my best. And for most women, it's like a 5-pound range. So if all of this resonates with you, I want you to really know that fat loss does not need to be miserable. And right now, it probably doesn't feel miserable because you're only a couple of days in. However, in a couple of weeks, when that dwindles, I want you guys to have a strategy that actually works so that your body stops fighting you. You should not be feeling like crap this week. If you're already starting to feel your energy tanking in the gym, or your sleep's kind of off, or your hunger's skyrocketing, it's not too late today to make the decision to be like, you know what? Let me take some of this advice and figure out a different plan. And if you want to join in on the workshop, it's going to be on the 18th. I think it's the 18th. It's a Sunday. But if you are like, no, this all hit me, and you want to talk before that, just shoot me a DM, and I would love to connect with you and hopefully make sure you're set up for success this week, because I don't want you to fail before you even get started. All right. So that's what I got for you guys today. I'm going to hop over to comments. Does anybody have any questions or anything like that? Oh, Dale Morrow. I just saw Dale on here. Haven't seen Dale in forever. Dale and I go back way. I see Aaron on here. Cammy's on here. Sarah. A lot of my peeps are on here. How's everybody doing? Good morning. All right. Well, happy Tuesday, guys. If you guys have any questions, I'm gonna stay on here for just a few more minutes. If anybody has any nutrition related questions or training or fat loss questions, maybe you did just start something and something that I said resonated with you today, don't be afraid to ask away. I see Judy Reed on here. And if you're watching the recording, I'm sorry. Anybody on Facebook got anything for me today? I wish I could see who is on and who likes things. I'm always curious. Because I know y'all are watching. All right. Well, then with that, I am going to hop off. Hopefully, I'm going to not hop off. Oh, you are so worried. You are so welcome, Jody. And you are doing awesome. You are doing awesome. Jody, one of my amazing masters athletes, and she is crushing her body comp goals. And I'm very happy for you coming off of the holidays, enjoying some fun concerts and time with the family. Because remember, fat loss needs to fit the family too. So the world cannot be obsessed with your goals. Only you can be. All right, guys. Well, if y'all need me, you know where to find me. I look forward to connecting with you all on the 18th. I will post the information on the workshop in the show notes, and I'll also be making a post on Instagram later on today. We'll have the link for it in my bio on Instagram for you guys to join in. So happy Tuesday, guys, and Happy New Year.